Film noir, one of the most iconic and important genres in cinema, having been created to help writers and audiences process and express their sentiments about the state of the world and the darkness revealed by the atrocities of World War II. Noirs were meant to be darker in tone than cinema traditionally was before, focusing on protagonists who were jaded, flawed anti-heroes, rather than lovable do-gooders. It's known for depicting the dark sides of society, as well as corruption in organizations, like the police force or in politics. We've gotten all-time classics from this genre, like Sunset Boulevard, The Maltese Falcon, Stray Dog, and many more. The genre has even transcended its original post-World War II setting of the 1940s and 50s, and allowed for films like Blade Runner or Memento, which, although don't have detectives in fedoras and trench coats, they do have all the narrative hallmarks of a good noir story. Now, we don't get many good noir stories in the modern day. Along with the Western, it's one of those genres that receives very few entries nowadays. This is true in film, but especially so in gaming. In fact, I'm not sure I can even name 5 noir-inspired games, period. But we may have just gotten the best noir of the last few years in the form of a boomer shooter about a cartoon mouse. Yes, I know how it sounds, just hear me out. Mouse P.I. for Hire is a brand new video game released by the indie studio Fumi Games. It follows the adventures of Jack Pepper, a private investigator in Mouseburg investigating the mysterious disappearance of a magician. Now, I know what you're thinking. This looks like a satire of the genre, and of the early 1930s cartoon animation style. Is this actually any good, or is it just a gimmicky indie game? Is it a genuinely good boomer shooter with good level design and progression? Does the noir story actually have an interesting mystery at its core that you would want to solve? Does boomer shooter gameplay mix with a noir narrative? Does that even make any sense? I went into it thinking the same thing, and I'm happy to say that, yes, for what it is, this game checks all of the boxes. It's not perfect by any means. It's definitely no Ultra Kill or Doom Eternal, but you can definitely feel the DNA of those games here. And the story is surprisingly good. Honestly, I didn't expect it to be, but I found myself genuinely wanting to solve the case. But let's start with the setup. At the beginning of the game, we find ourselves thrown directly into the action, where we have to fight our way through gangsters and a blimp. Things go awry, and then we cut back to the very beginning of the case, as Jack Pepper's inner monologue clues us in about what's been happening.
It began with a call. Routine. Familiar. Wanda from the Mouseburg Herald. Usually she swings by the office with a lead. If it pans out, she hears it first. It's simple, really. She gets her story, I get a few bucks to stockpile cheese, and for a moment, Mouseburg gets to breathe easy. But that day was different.
We get to drive around Mouseburg in Jack's car in this top-down view of the city, which acts as a hub. From here, we can select missions or return to Jack's office. The missions in this game are about what you would expect from a linear FPS game like this. We fight through encounters that get progressively more difficult, and then have to defeat boss enemies at the end of many of these missions. Jack's gameplay is about what you would expect from the boomer shooter genre, except being able to use cartoon logic as inspiration. We move really fast, and as the game goes on, we gain new abilities like the dash mechanic, double jumping, or gliding. What's cool about these abilities is that they are inspired by cartoon logic, like the gliding mechanic, for example. Jack learns how to spin his tail really fast, like helicopter blades, which allows him to glide. He can also use his tail like Indiana Jones uses his whip, to grapple across gaps in the levels. I really appreciate this sort of thing, and it is what sets this game apart from other shooters in the genre. There is a wide variety of weapons to use as well. We start with a Mauser pistol, or the Miser as it's called here, but we grab the shotgun very early on and can find other weapons as the game goes on. One thing to take note of is how the game has changed all of the weapon names from their real-world equivalents to names inspired by the cartoonish setting or references to cinema. The Miser is a great example. but you also have things like the Tommy gun being renamed the James gun, or the shotgun being called the boomstick. The most interesting weapons, though, are the ones that completely embrace the cartoon logic and inspiration, like the Devarnisher, a gun you find in a secret lab which fires acidic AoE blasts. There are other weapons that really take the cartoon inspiration and run with it, but a lot of those are found later in the game and I don't want to spoil them. There are also temporary power-ups you can find in certain encounters, like this one, which acts like Doom's Berserker power-up, and pays homage to the classic Popeye cartoons. Or this one, that turns your finger into a powerful gun with infinite ammo. There's a lot to love about this game's gameplay. Additionally, there is actually a lot more to do in this than just shoot people, or mice. Similar to many classic boomer shooters, you can explore the levels to find secrets that give you rewards. There is a lock-picking minigame where you have to use Jack's tail to push the locking mechanisms. There are some that are very easy and some that are much more difficult, requiring you to complete the pick in a limited amount of time, or with a limited amount of moves. You can also return to the neighborhood around Jack's office, where you can interact with NPCs and play this baseball card minigame, which is actually really addicting. Inside Jack's place, we piece together clues and save our game. It's nice to have a break from the constant killing after playing a mission or two. When it comes to the story and the world, the charm of the game really shines. Unlike most boomer shooters, or shooters in general, this game has a lot of dialogue, with some very light RPG mechanics. You are, after all, a private investigator, which means you need to do some investigating when you aren't wiping out the mob single-handedly. You can interrogate NPCs for leads or sometimes useful tips or items. Like here, where a guy says he'll sell me a key which will help me get into a location I need to explore. I have the option to buy it or save my money. That sort of thing. And the music. Oh, the music. It's so good. I was concerned about how jazz would lend itself to a boomer shooter gameplay, but it works. Really well, in fact. There's something about mowing down cartoon mice gangsters with a Tommy gun as big band jazz music plays in the background that is so satisfying. And the slower tracks are great too. Jack Pepper's theme is a real standout. The characters in this game are also a highlight. They all fall into the tropes of the noir genre. Jack Pepper, our protagonist, is a walking stereotype. He is the jaded anti-hero we would expect from a noir thriller, even being a former soldier in the Quite Big Affair, a great war that many of the NPCs refer to throughout the game, mirroring how noir protagonists traditionally were heavily influenced by World War II or other wars, usually having been soldiers themselves. In spite of Jack filling this role, the game is still a satire, and he is a very humorous character. He drops one-liners and says jokes very frequently. There are other characters like the bartender, who Jack can talk to on occasion for advice or just to rant about things. Or Tammy, the shopkeeper, who Jack can acquire upgrades for his weapons from. Yes, you can upgrade your weapons. You even have the femme fatale stereotype character in the form of Vivian, who comes to you with a case early on in the game.
No, that voice. Not a contralto, the contralto. Thick, rough, like Gorgonzola picante slapped on a mozzarella platter.
Monsieur Jacques?
If you were looking for a serious, gritty noir story though, like the IGN reviewers seem to be for some reason, you're not going to find it here. This is very much a cartoon version of a noir story. In fact, all of the art in the game, excluding the 3D environments, are completely hand-drawn by real artists, and it looks fantastic. It plays into all the classic cartoon tropes, falling anvils and stuff. The whole game seems to be making fun of, but also honoring the genre in which it is set. There's a lot of self-aware humor, not just with regards to the noir genre, but to game development and the game industry. Tons of references to classic cinema and pulp culture as well. If you're a film buff like me, you'll notice a lot. When it comes to my criticism of the game, I do have a few notes. The level design can be very samey and lackluster sometimes. The gameplay is still fun, but having more vertical rooms with bridges or ramps would have helped to make it more diverse. There are some rooms like that, but oftentimes the rooms end up being wide open spaces with little going on. There aren't as many different enemy types in the game as I expected, and sometimes they are just reskinned to represent different factions, and they don't play differently. I think that this game could have used less resources around the map and a mechanic to encourage you to be aggressive towards the enemies, to be rewarded with the resources you need. Like modern Doom's chainsaw refill mechanic. The other thing is that when it comes to being a mystery we're supposed to uncover, the game basically does this for us. All we have to do is place our clues on the wall in Jack's office, and it finds leads for us, instead of giving us the option to look into things for ourselves, and possibly make wrong decisions as to what the clues mean. This isn't a big issue, especially because this is a boomer shooter, not an actual mystery game, but considering it wants to emulate the noir genre, I wish there was a little bit more depth with this specifically. Overall though, I really like Mouse P.I. for Hire and would recommend it to fans of the boomer shooter genre. I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. Anyway, that's it from me on this. I appreciate you guys watching. Like and subscribe if you would like to. Take care.